Coming up, we have stories about cordial exes, inheritance, getting the ick from your partner, canceling the wedding, cheating on your spouse, hijacking someone's honeymoon, and nosy neighbors. Hey there, it is Dusty Thunder with another gosh heckin' Reddit story for you. This one comes from the AITA subreddit and it's titled, Am I the Astronaut for Allowing My Ex-Wife Into My Home? Early yesterday evening, my ex-wife came to pick up our son from home. At the time, my wife and I had a few visitors over for dinner. The visitors included her sister and husband, but were mostly friends. Usually my ex phones our son when she's downstairs. We live in an apartment building and he goes down to meet her. Yesterday she called our son as usual, but asked him to ask me if she could come up because one of her younger kids needed to use the bathroom. I obviously said yes. She came up with her 3 younger kids. She didn't know we had company, so apologized for interrupting before taking the kids to our bathroom. On her way out, a couple of the guests stopped her for a quick chat. Friends I've had since she and I were married, but it was only for a few minutes. My son gave his little sibling some of the snacks that were out for the guests. After they left, my wife's sister was quick to call my ex rude for barging in. One of the friends replied to her saying something about small kids' bladders, and nothing more was said about it. However, after everyone but my wife's sister had left, my wife and her sister started talking about it and both agreed that it was rude and tacky. They couldn't believe she started talking to some of our friends. When I objected, they said it was wrong of me to have let her in without asking my wife first. I said, that's ridiculous. Later, my wife and I discussed it again, and she said she found it embarrassing for me to just let her in like that. I asked why, but she said I wouldn't understand. Am I really the asshole here? I was trying to do a normal, nice thing, but now I feel bad about upsetting my wife. Okay, I don't see anything wrong with this. However, if there is some kind of precedent that would lead OP to think that there could be a conflict or that it could cause drama, I would hope that he would at least be like, hey, yo, heads up, she's coming up because little one has to pee. And I said it was okay. Fair warning. Giving a heads up would have been a good idea, right? That would have been a good idea because then everybody could have mentally prepared for it. If nobody knew she was coming in and then she came in and it changed things. This is an insecurity thing though, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there was no precedent that would lead OP to believe that. Otherwise, he hopefully would have communicated that. So this was an out of character thing for his wife to get upset about. I think it was an out of character thing to get upset about because her sister got her riled up. Sister seems like a shit stirrer to me. She's like Liv from, what's the show? Love Island. Liv seems like a shit starter. A shit starter. Shit stirrer? Both. Some people like to start shit. Whether it's intentional or it's accidental, it's something that some people are really good at, getting other people fired up. It's like if it had just been you two, let me put it this way. If it had been you two and other friends and your wife's sister was not there, would this have happened, OP? Or did sister just get her riled up? Don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Here today, there you go. The siblings could have taken them. It doesn't matter. Candy Thunder says, wife is insecure AF. It's a child needing to use the bathroom. Sister is a 1 for me. Wife is a 2. I would agree with that. I think, OP, you are NTA here, assuming there was no precedent that would lead you to believe that this would cause any bullshit. We have to learn, right? So if something like this has happened before and you thought, okay, I probably need to give a heads up, or I was worried that something might happen, but you didn't hesitate. So I'm going to say that's not an issue here. But the sister, for just trying to stir up shit, she's like, I could see this playing out too. I could film this. Like I could cast people and film this and recreate it pretty well, which I think we should do for some stories. I think we should film it. We have the capacity to do that. We could just start reenacting Reddit stories, but actually have it play out. That'd be hilarious. What do you think about that? This would be that situation where she walks in and sister immediately corners OP's wife and is like, did you see what that bitch did? Are you going to let that fly in your home? Are you going to let her disrespect you? Did you see how Bob and Carol just went and started talking to her like nothing ever changed, like you aren't here? Are you going to let that happen in your home? You better get over there and say something. Go now. you say something. Shit starter. I see this happen a lot. I see this happen a lot because of Love Island, mainly, which we haven't watched in a while. We didn't watch anything while we were on vacation. It was wild. It was on Love Island, you see a lot of people convince people that they have been wronged, and then drama unfolds. Otherwise, left to their own devices, nothing would have happened at all. But someone comes over and gets them puffed up, and then they march over there and they start some shit. And it's like clockwork. It just happens over and over and over and over again. I don't think those people are your friends. And either sister here is doing this because she truly, I don't know. What's the point? What's the point, guys? Why would sister do this? Sister just loves drama. Some people just thrive on drama. Is that what you think would motivate? What would her motive be? What's the sister's motive? Sister feels comfortable because his wife has given her that right to. Comfortable enough to start shit? Did wife express to sis in the past about X? Maybe that's a system of errors. Maybe it's an insecurity thing where wife has confided in her sister about this insecurity or complains to her about things that OP's ex does, and that gave her the ammo to fuel the fire here. And Netflix series, yeah, it'll be like a Black Mirror, but Reddit story reenactments, just crazy shit. It sounds like we're gonna have to check out OK Storytime. Some people just want to watch the world burn. Yeah, you're right, Beer today. Sis just doesn't like hubby. That's possible too. Entirely possible. Well, OP, you got the NTA from us. Your wife, though, escalated to Ascon 2 here because of a bad influence. Her sister, who is an Ascon 1. So I don't know how you go about fixing this in OP's shoes. I don't know how you go about being like, hey, if your sister hadn't come over and got you all puffed up, would you have been upset about this? Because then she's already on the defensive. You're not going to be able to broach this in conversation. I don't know how you move forward from this. I would say move forward in an observation fashion. See if your wife gets more irritated or if drama is more likely to occur when sister is involved. And you might actually try to track that somehow. I don't know how you do that. Like, make a note. I don't know. But if at some point you can be like, hey, out of the past 20 problems that we've had, past 20 disagreements that we had, 17 have been fueled by your sister. It's hard to argue with math, right? Now, that's me. That could be the absolute worst thing to do. You ladies will have to let me know. I'd bring math into it, and that's probably a terrible idea. Am I the astronaut for not giving my stepdaughter an inheritance? My 32 female husband passed away earlier this year. Our children, 6 female, 3 male, and I inherited his entire estate, which in total is worth almost $1 million. When he was in high school, my husband had a child, 16 female, with his girlfriend at that time. He broke up with his girlfriend once he found out that she was pregnant, saying he wasn't ready to be a father yet. He visited her maybe once every few years when he was alive. My stepdaughter and her mother are very poor. They have struggled financially ever since my husband's death, as they no longer receive child support. They're struggling to pay rent and risk getting evicted. My stepdaughter reached out to me begging for her share of the inheritance. I feel bad for her, but my husband clearly stated in his will that he wanted to leave his estate to me and my children only. I barely even know my stepdaughter, and I don't think it's my responsibility to take care of her. She's furious with me, calling me a heartless gold digger and saying that giving her money was the least I could do to make up for years of neglect. Am I the astronaut here? Top comments. Let me go into that first. Top comments. It says a lot about your character that you went along with a neglectful deadbeat and still carry that torch of negligence even after his death. I hope you don't have the nerve to delude yourself into believing that your husband was a good person and a good father. In different circumstances, he could have abandoned your children like he did her through no fault of their own. Depending on where you live, his will might be irrelevant. If he never paid child support, his first BM might be able to sue his estate for back payment. Or stepdaughter might herself be entitled to a proportional share of inheritance. You're the asshole. Another comment here. Him just paying his child support obligation puts him above average. This is a subreddit about assholes, though not about meeting the minimum legal obligations. I don't know why so many people seem to conflate legality with morality. This mother owes her children's half-sister nothing legally. However, I think it's pretty obviously immoral to deny her even a pittance from $1 million estate when it is going to demonstrably damage the life of a minor child who was related to the decedent. And it puts him in pretty firm asshole territory if he really believed that she shouldn't be provided for at all upon his early death. That's not just me, right? It's not just a big words thing. It was just written in a very tricky way. Moreover, OP might actually not be legally clear either. A casual Google search seems to indicate that the estate might have some responsibility to pay out child support even after the non-custodial parent is deceased. See, but we're back to legality now. We're back to legality. So, like, I like the explanation here that legality and morality are not the same thing. They are not. Neither is religion and morality. Like, they're different things, right? So I think you've got some different classifications here. So if he just decided that he didn't want to be a father, yeah, I mean, how I initially felt about this story was that was his decision. It was his decision to do what he did back then, which was I don't agree with, and I don't think it's right to not be involved with her life at all. But that was on him. And it was also on him to write in his will that he didn't include her. It is not OP's responsibility unless there is some legal obligation that we don't know about. It's not OP's responsibility. Now, that's the legal side. The moral side is if you were in this position or if your child was in this position, wouldn't you hope that there's a DFHB that can help the situation? There's also a part of me that is like, this child is 16 years old. There's a very, 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 very strong likelihood that her mom is behind all of this, is behind the request, is behind the begging. She is probably prompting all of that to happen from the 16-year-old girl, which is not fair either. It's not an easy situation. I think that the feel good thing to do is obviously to help her out. That is the feel good thing to do. Also, like on the math side of things, look, if his estate and if what they had, let's say if it's $1 million that is left to them, that is not like, hey, here's $1 million on top of all the stuff that you're already going to get for the rest of your life. That is $1 million to replace this person ever for life. So they now have to like completely rearrange their lives. And yes, $1 million is a lot of money, but if they now no longer have the main breadwinner's income for life, that has to be taken into consideration too. The moral right thing to do for me is to help her out. The legal obligation doesn't sound like it's likely for them to have a case there, or maybe they would, but it was his choice. It's not OP's responsibility. How do they know for sure that he's the father? We don't know that either. There's a difference between being entitled and begging for money for basic living expenses. That's true. Yeah, if they were not in a pickle and this was happening, it would be a different story, right? And we'd be having a different conversation. If mom and stepdaughter were doing well and this was happening, then we could talk about entitlement. It's not entitlement at this point. It's survival at this point. And on the child support side of things, she's 16. It's only going to last 2 more years. But if they're no longer going to receive that because he's gone, then they're getting hit too. They were getting child support until he passed. So yeah, Diane, there's an idea. At the bare minimum, paying the 2 years worth of child support up front from that amount is fair. That's what's fair. Now, if you wanted to be a good person, you could do more than that. Social Security, that's is probably going to go to his. I don't know. There are the bureaucratic side of things may be able to help them out, but it's going to take time, and the process to getting there is going to be painful. There is a way where they can get help right now. OP just doesn't want to do it. Hey there again, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story from AITA. This one is, am I the astronaut for telling my girlfriend that she gave me the ick at a family dinner. I'm 32, dating my girlfriend Jenny, 27, female, for almost a year now, and we've met each other's families. Jenny is an only child of an Asian family, while I'm half and half with one younger sister, Anna, 21, female. Anna and I are close despite our age gap. Our parents both work demanding jobs, and I would babysit or chaperone for many of her bratty teen years. In recent months, I've noticed that whenever Anna comes up in conversation, Jenny would joke about how Anna is overly spoiled by my parents and I, and how we've created a princess. Last week at a family dinner with my parents, I felt like Jenny was overly grilling Anna on school/dating/life. At one point, Anna was telling a story about how a first date gave her the ick by not pulling out his wallet after their meal, let her foot the full meal. Jenny laughed and said that not every man will treat her to dinner like her brother would, and that you need to lower your standards. I was not happy with this comment, as it sounded like my sister didn't deserve to be treated with basic respect, but also didn't want to embarrass Jenny. Jennifer then went on to talk about how that would never happen to her, as men see her as high value. I don't know what about the comment just pissed me off, but I said that she was giving me the ick and to stop talking to my sister like that. Oh, no, he did this in front of everyone? He did it in front of everyone. That makes it a little bit different. The argument we had when we got home was massive, and Jenny told me that I was overreacting to an innocuous comment and would make a terrible father because I would always favor my sister over everyone else. This is hardcore jealousy. Going red flag mode here. I'm shocked at being called a terrible father and honestly don't think that I was wrong, but need another opinion. Top comment here is NTA. It sounds like she's trying to compete with your sister. I would have already gotten rid of her. Okay. So situationally here, we got to break this down for a second because he doesn't come out and say it. Yeah, she's competing with your sister. Anna is the sister. Jenny is the girlfriend. I got it mixed up while reading here. Jenny doesn't like the amount of attention that Anna gets from her boyfriend and his brother. Jenny doesn't like how much attention Anna gets from the family. Jenny doesn't like the fact that Anna is a spoiled princess and got so much attention from everyone, which I don't understand how you could get jealous of someone's sibling and then feel like you have to attack them to knock them down a peg. Maybe it's because that maybe Jenny, wished she had that amount of attention growing up and she just despises Anna for it and feels like she has to just knock her down a peg just because. Or maybe it's because she just doesn't like how much her brother loves her. Why would someone ever compete with your partner's sibling? I value my foot. The high value thing is a huge red flag. Okay, now the fact that he said, you're giving me the ick, stop talking, in front of everyone. Now, he didn't come out and say in front of everyone, but he said at one point, Anna was telling a story about how a first date gave her the ick by not pulling out his wallet after their meal. No, that wasn't it. He said Jennifer then went on to talk about how that would have never happened to her as men see her as high value. That's when OP said, the comment just pissed me off. And I said that she was giving me the ick and to stop talking to her sister like that. So it was at least in front of the sister. It was in front of someone else. Does that change things? Brian says, is it the amount of attention or just being jealous due to seeing a feeling of entitlement? What does it matter? Jamie says, ESH, the girlfriend probably has a reason for her jealousy, not an excuse, but talking about it with his family is totally inappropriate. Yeah, like specifically attacking her because you don't like how much attention she gets. And there's no other reason that we know of that she has to dislike her except for who she is as a person, which she, attributes to the over love and over affection that OP and his parents gave. Lady love, it does matter if boyfriend is putting sister above the girlfriend. Sure. And, we have no reason to believe that's the case right now. We have no reason to believe that's not the case either, though. We don't have any context about that direction. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, even if OP is actively giving his sister more attention, and we have read some stories like that, it's not his sister's fault. If OP's girlfriend truly feels that way, that's a conversation that needs to be had and stay between OP and his girlfriend. She needs to take that to him because the problem that she has is with him. If the problem that she has is the attention that he gives her, that's a him conversation. That's a him action that needs to be corrected. If she truly just dislikes Anna because she's Anna, I don't know, what are you going to do here? She said her comments publicly about the sister, so he returned equal fire. That's true. Candy Thunder just messaged me. So yeah, so the public part of this, I don't think raises his level of ass-connishness at all, because she was publicly attacking Anna, so he publicly defended her. Now, did it in a way that, created enough pain to create some change because it caused a full stop in the conversation. And maybe he knew using the word ick would get her to pump the brakes and to stop talking here. And then they have this knockdown drag out later on, rightly so. But, bro, you've got bigger issues than what happened in this isolated incident. You've got bigger issues than what was happening at that dinner, because she's got some kind of insecurity. She's got some kind of jealousy. She's got some kind of resentment for your sister that is unhealthy and is already starting to destroy your relationship. Do you know who your girlfriend is as a person? Because if she's capable of treating this 16-year-old girl, is that how old she is? Anna's 21. If she's capable of treating your younger sister like this, it's not going to stop. And that's going to cause a fracture between your relationship with your sister and your family. And then all of a sudden, 3 years down the road, we got another Reddit story where you're like, my family won't let me and my girlfriend / wife / fiance, whatever she is at that point, come to any family functions because they don't like her. What do I do? You have to think about where this is going to go. What happens next? Unless you change something now. These situations are a boat, and your decisions are the rudder. And you have to stick to whatever direction you want this to go. But you have to figure that out. You have to figure out where it's going to go and what you can do to change that. Candy Thunder says, what if she has a daughter? Is she going to be a mom who competes with her daughter? That's a thing. Damn. That's another question you have to ask yourself, OP. Even if I solve this situation, is her resentment for a child who gets too much love and attention going to carry over to when we have children as well? What does that look like? Why is it happening? Hey, it's Dusty Thunder here with another story from Reddit for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Threatening to Cancel the Wedding Because I Am Jealous of My Fiance's Sister? Disclaimer, this is not my account. My friend helped me post from her account, posting the story, as I want an unbiased opinion. The names are changed to hide their identity. I, 30 female, am getting married to Roy, 31 male. We met in college and hit it off right away. He's handsome, charming, smart, and supportive. We fell in love and planned our entire future together. We planned where to live, how many kids to have, vacations, college fund for children, retirement, etc. I love him so much. He's my soulmate and best friend. Well, and apparently a very avid planner. He would tell me he's proud of me whenever I achieved something. He's super supportive of my dreams and ambitions. He'd motivate me to take up projects that I was hesitant to. He'd reassure me that I'm capable and talented enough. He'd compliment me every time I got dressed to go out and tell me how lucky he was to have me as his girlfriend. Roy's father passed away when he was just 8 years old, and his elder sister, Kim, 33 female, was 10. His mother, Yami, 55 female, never remarried. She's a very kind and sweet lady. I never got to know Kim as she lived in a different city for work and rarely visited us. We got engaged 8 months ago in an engagement ceremony in my country. The to-be bride and groom get engaged in a ceremony among family and close friends. Kim moved back to our city and found a job here. This is when things started getting complicated. It's customary here for the girl's parents to pay for the wedding. My dad hired a wedding planner and told me to plan the wedding with them to my and Roy's liking. When we started the planning process, my future mother-in-law stayed out of it, but Kim would tag along with us whenever we went. To the florist, to the wedding planner's office, to the caterers, everywhere. I wanted it to just be me and Roy. I told him that I didn't like future sister-in-law third-wheeling something just the both of us were meant to be doing together. He told me that Kim just wanted to be involved in her brother's wedding, and I should be more welcoming of her. I would have actually been okay with it if she'd keep her mouth shut and not give us her valuable input. Quotation marks there as well. When I choose flowers, it would be too pastel. Choose a different color palette. When I would suggest the chair arrangement to the planner, she'd be like, that won't give the proper view to the guests on the far left. I wanted to have coconut pudding at my wedding. It was my absolute favorite dessert growing up, and I wanted to share it with my guests on my wedding day. But guess what? No, not coconut. I'm allergic. We'll go ahead and do this now. The thing that pisses me off the most is that Roy always takes her side when it's my choice versus her choice. Roy, what are you doing? Roy! What are you doing, Roy? You mean to tell me, okay, there's a lot more to this, but this is pause-worthy. You mean to tell me that you're sitting in a wedding planning meeting with your bride-to-be and your sister, and when it comes down to a vote, you've not only given your sister an equal vote with your bride-to-be, but every time you actually give her more of a vote? I'm going to go ahead and throw this up right now. That's just unwise. Most unwise. Soon to be ex-groom to be. Most unwise. He wouldn't fight or anything. He'd be like, it doesn't matter which flower it's going to be as long as it's you who's my bride. Let it go, babe. It's not a huge deal. Only thing that's important is that we're marrying each other and starting a new life together. What? When the coconut pudding thing happened, he asked me to not be selfish, as it's not just about me and it's about both of us and our families. What? Okay, honey, don't be selfish. It's only okay if my sister is selfish with our wedding. Our wedding? Our wedding? Threatening to cancel the wedding is entirely warranted, madam. He said Kim is family and I cannot exclude her from having the food at our wedding. I was really frustrated at this point. It's as if we're planning Kim's wedding and not mine. The final straw was when we were shopping wedding dresses. Wedding wear would be an appropriate word as it is our traditional clothing. My mom picked out this beautiful green dress for me and I loved it so much, but Kim had to poke her nose here as well. She told me that green isn't my color and I should try something else. Roy agreed with her. Damn it, Roy. Roy, quit doing stupid shit. Then I tried different dresses and finally decided on a rose gold dress that I liked too, but not as much as the green one. When we started to shop for the families of the bride and the groom, when it was Kim's turn, I kid you not, this bitch picks out the same green dress and decides she's gonna buy it. I lost it. I didn't want to make a scene there, so I walked out. It took you this long to lose it? Are there no boundaries in your universe? But I would have lost it a long time before this, and I think every other person on the planet would have lost it a long time before this. Thank goodness you lost it. I and Roy had a huge fight about this at home. He told me that green wasn't going well with my skin tone and that it suits Kim better, that I should stop acting so immature, that Kim picked that dress after I had already picked mine out. I couldn't believe my ears. For the first time since we started planning our wedding, I noticed how he's always taking Kim's side and never mine. I couldn't believe that the man I was looking at was the same man I fell in love with. Roy and Kim shared a strong bond due to losing their father so young. They were each other's best friends and support system growing up. But that does not justify him taking her side when it's our wedding and our vision. Back in college, when we were dating, he'd brag about his sister to anybody that he could, even if that person was complimenting me. Like if someone complimented the taste of the coffee that I made, he'd be like, if you think this is delicious, then you must try the coffee my sister made, etc. It was annoying, but it wasn't a big deal, and I let it go as I knew he was really close to her. But this time, I cannot let it go. It's our wedding, not Kim's wedding. I was starting to wonder if he wanted to be Kim's wedding. I yelled at him that if this wedding is happening, then it's happening like we both envisioned, or it's not happening at all. Roy got mad at me and yelled that I was jealous of his sister, as I can never be as good as her. Roy, you must be the biggest brozo. But, like, you give brozo a different meaning. You're like the brother brozo, not a bro, brother brozo. You seriously told your fiance that she could never be as good as your sister. Listen, Jamie Lannister, I don't know what you're hoping to accomplish with this wedding, but it's apparently to someone that you don't care for at all. So why are you getting married to her? If you do not care about her at all. What's weird is the pivot, right? So their lives leading up to this point were fine, were great until she got involved. It feels like she's trying to blow up this wedding. She's trying to prevent this wedding from happening. She's trying to stir enough shit up so that this wedding doesn't happen. This is her exercising her control to meddle and cause problems because maybe she feels that you're not good enough for her brother as well. That I am a bitter person for holding a grudge against Kim, even though she's been nothing but kind to me, that she was just trying to help, etc. I don't hold any grudge against her. I just want to have my dream wedding. Am I the astronaut? Hell no. Edit, I am currently at my friend's home. I cried myself to sleep after posting this. Woke up a few minutes ago and she told me that there were around 1,000 people who agree with her. I forgot to tell you all that English is not my first language, so I apologize for any grammatical mistakes. I didn't want to read the comments because I was scared of the obvious. Honestly, I just thought everyone would be telling me to cancel the wedding because he isn't right for me, which of course you all did, and thank you for that. But the things you've all pointed out, like the emotional incest and how she could control our future, even my kids' future, never crossed my mind, not once. I don't know why I couldn't see those things. I was so dumb. After reading the comments, I almost threw up looking back at our relationship. I might have ignored them because he would claim that their bond is stronger than other siblings because they lost their father and had to face hardships together. I'm so heartbroken to the point that I black out if I stand straight. This pain is too much for me to take. His mom called me on the phone, but I didn't answer. It's so overwhelming. It's difficult to breathe and I feel claustrophobic. My friend told me that I might be experiencing anxiety. We're going to go see a doctor first. I don't feel like I'm in a condition to talk to anybody. Additional comments from OP here. I can finally see how doomed my future is if I decide to marry this man. I want to call my mom and cry so bad. I just want to hug my parents and tell them that they were right about him and that I was blinded by love. Wait, what do you mean they were right about him? They pointed this out earlier? But I'll have to wait. I can't let them see me in such miserable condition. I need to put myself together and be mentally ready to handle this situation. I've already called the wedding planner and asked her to block any future payments to the vendors. Before the engagement, they asked me if I was sure about this man and if I knew and understood him. They said they felt as if he's pretending to be someone he's not. So he didn't pass the vibe check. Not that that should, not that they get to decide your future, but if the people who love you have concerns, there's generally a reason for it. But whoa, you dodged a bullet here, OP. You dodged a bullet. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITA and is titled, Am I the Astronaut to Not Want to Hijack My Brother-in-Law's Honeymoon Alongside My Wife? I, 28 male, have been married to my wife, 27 female, for 2 years now. Financially, we've been both struggling a bit in the past years, but our situation is mostly fine now, even though we still live a relatively modest life and we can't afford to casually go to expensive trips in other countries. Even our honeymoon was only a trip to a beach from our country where we've already been, and even that cost quite a bit. My wife's older brother, 33 male, is definitely much wealthier than we are and is known for spoiling his fiance, 30 female, with gifts and expensive trips. My wife definitely commented a couple of times on it, and I could feel that she was secretly jealous about it. She and her brother are definitely very close to each other, and he helped us quite a bit during the times we were struggling financially, and he even allowed her to be a bridesmaid at his wedding, even though my wife and brother-in-law's fiance aren't really close. Yesterday, my brother-in-law announced in front of their family that he wants to reward his sister for putting so much effort into planning his wedding by full-on paying for both of us to go together with him and his fiance on their honeymoon in Paris for a full week. Before I could say anything, my wife immediately accepted it and hugged her brother. But then his fiance started going at him about inviting us to their honeymoon without discussing it with her beforehand, and my brother-in-law defended himself by saying he just wanted to help his sister experience something that she can't do on her own. We need this. They were arguing when my wife suddenly intervened and told his brother's fiance to stop acting like such an entitled brat, because not everyone's as lucky as she is to have a wealthy enough partner to support them. Brother-in-law's fiance started yelling at my wife about how she's just a leech to her brother, who took over her wedding and now wants to invade her honeymoon too. I eventually got my wife out of there, and on the way out, I told her that maybe it'd be better for us to refuse going on my brother-in-law's honeymoon, as his fiance is clearly uncomfortable with it. She asked me if I was an idiot for wanting to pass up a trip to Paris for free, that she worked way too hard to convince her brother to invite us, for her to back up from it now. She convinced him it wasn't a gift? I told her that maybe she can arrange something else for us, and I don't want to be the reason a marriage falls apart. But my wife told me their marriage is not our business, but theirs. And if it fall apart, it'd only be because my brother-in-law's fiance, it's her fault. I told my wife I want no part of this and I won't be going on this shared honeymoon. And she started arguing with me about how she can't believe I'd act this way when she only did this for us, and said that she'll take her brother's offer without me if she has to. We ended up sleeping in different beds. And even today, my wife is still giving me the cold shoulder. So am I the astronaut for my refusal? No, you are not. But I hate to tell you this, sir. Your wife's an asshole, not just a little one, not just like casually rude. Your wife is a bizzo. Your wife is terrible. Your wife is already destroying a marriage and gives zero shits about it. All her only goal here is to make this wedding happen so she can go on the honeymoon. Actually, I take that back. If the honeymoon trip is already booked, it may now be her mission to destroy the wedding so that it doesn't happen, so she can go to Paris with her brother without his bride. And here again, I think we have emotional incest. We have some serious issues here. And you're already married into it, OP. You're in a shittier spot than the fiance here, who we're pretty sure wrote in a story too that we just read, where she's threatening to cancel the wedding. The wedding is probably not going to happen. That trip probably still is. And your wife gives zero shits about her brother's happiness, or maybe she cares too much about it, but she just wants the trip. And convinced him to pull off this stunt and not tell his bride-to-be, to say it in front of everybody so that she had no choice but to accept it or look like an asshole. She's a terrible, terrible piece of shit. You're f***ed. This is the beginning of winter's coming. It's at your doorstep, sir. It's about to get very grim. And this is not going to be the worst thing that you have to make decisions in. This is not going to be the worst thing that happens where you're like, should I stay married to this woman? She does not care. She's willing to go without you. She will leave you behind here. And I don't know what your relationship is like otherwise, but this is a pivotal moment that you have to think about what changes from here on out. She's terrible. She's an AFCON 1. She's a DFHB rejection. I don't. You got problems. You got problems. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. I never get the ick, but the last two stories, ick. We need an ick button now. We need an ick button. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one from AITA is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Neighbor to Grow Up, Get a Life, and Get the F*** Over the Fact That I Painted My House a color he doesn't like? I bought a house in a community without an HOA. I wanted my home to be my home, and that includes making it look the way that I want. I also chose a neighborhood that already has fun, colorful houses instead of just plain earth tones. I finally got to the point where I could repaint my house. I picked a soft peachy color with a sage blue and soft and dark pink accents. Fun and colorful without being too out there. I think if you Google Cooler's Blue Sage Peach, you'll see a similar palette. My neighbor Paul hates it and has complained since we started the project. He also made his opinions known that he hates our front lawn, lots of wildflowers and sunflowers, fun garden flags, a little free library, etc. Each and every time, I've told him that I don't care. Truly, I don't. And I've suggested a few times that maybe he'd be happier in an HOA community that has control over everything and forces people into having earth-toned homes. Paul got angry when I suggested that and said he's lived in his home for 15 years and shouldn't have to move. I told him, okay, well, you'll have to learn to live with a little color. Last weekend, I was putting in pavers that my niece and I had painted together. They're all things like ladybugs, turtles, birds, etc. in fun colors. I adore them, and my niece is so excited that she gets to be a part of my home. Paul came over to complain yet again, saying it was all an eyesore, and my niece was here, so I just told him, it's time for you to grow up and get the over what I'm doing with my house. Okay, then. He got even pissier and told me that I have no right to talk to him that way. Do I know who I'm talking to? Etc. I told him to just go away and get a life. If he has so much free time to bitch and moan about a colorful house, maybe he should get a hobby. He storms off, calling me a nasty piece of work. My niece was cracking up on the side. For the record, no one in my family is uptight. We really don't care about cursing. I know some people still clutch their pearls over it around kids. She's 15, but I'm sure she says worse. Anyway, one of the other neighbors came over to tell me that he's been flapping his yap about how disrespectful I am to talk to him like that. She told me that she knows he's a pain, but that he has been in the neighborhood forever and it's worth being nice to him. I don't know. Is telling him to get a life that big of a deal? Am I the astronaut? No. 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 Oh no, he forgot who he was. Do you know who I am? No. Do you? Are you in a fugue state, sir? No, hell no. Because here's the deal. Pain creates change. He was going to keep coming up to you. He was going to keep coming up to you and being like, I don't like this. I don't like that. That's an eyesore. That's an eyesore. That sucks. This sucks. Don't like that. That's okay. Everything else sucks. He didn't have any kind of boundary that he was walking into because there was no consequence attached to it. Each and every time, you're like, I don't care. But that wasn't causing any pain for him. So that boundary was ignored. He ignored it. Not enough pain, no boundary. So he just kept walking over it, walking over it, walking over it, till finally you hit a button. You finally hit a button. Maybe it was the F-bomb. Maybe it was telling him to get a hobby, get a life. Maybe it was just not being like, oh, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I'll paint my house whatever color you want right away. You finally backed up that boundary with something other than I don't care and caused him a little bit of pain, enough pain to go bitch to the neighbors. And then what happens always happens. Whoever experiences pain because whoever's pissed off at you went and bitched to them, they come over to try to convince you to go back on whatever you did, not because they think you're wrong, because they're trying to end their own pain. It's not about him being right or wrong. It's about them not wanting to deal with his bullshit. We've got to come up with a name for these people because it happens all the time. The collateral damage people, I don't know what it is, but every freaking time whoever else has to hear the bitching from whoever is pissed, they want to get involved too and be like, yeah, please, just be nice to him because he's a pain in the ass to everybody. And right now he's a pain in the ass to us instead of you because you pissed him off. So please stop pissing him off so he'll only be a pain in the ass to you again and we don't have to deal with it. I'm sorry, neighbor. F off and go home. Telling me to concede and pacify this jabroni so you don't have to deal with it is not being neighborly. That's not being a good person. That's not being friendly. Your neighbor coming over and saying that shit is being just as bad as he is. Tell her to get a life and a hobby. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but again, boundaries have consequences. NTA. And what I said in the beginning about the lights? Feel even stronger about it now. Make sure that he's got a really good view of it. Maybe just do it on the side of the house that faces his property so he can see it. You know what I mean? I think some lighting is in order here. Lighting's fun too. You do like colorful, fun things. You can do a lot of colorful, fun things with lighting. I'm sure he's gonna love it. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.